Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, January the 5th. Now, we do got a really big Wednesday slate, 11 games today. As always, guys, we're going to go game by game. Now, since it is such a big slate, I am going to try and go as quick as possible, try and condense this video, try and keep it within like 25, 30 minutes. So we're going to kind of go through these games quickly, talk through each game, break down each team, kind of give my early thoughts, what I do like at first look, taking a first look at this slate on Tuesday night. And then as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core, talk about 5 players I specifically like for both DraftKings and for Yahoo. Now, as always, if you enjoy these first look videos and you do want more updated content from me, I do provide that over on Patreon. So you can check that out, link down below in the description, get access to all of my updated DFS content, my full updated core plays that I usually post an hour before lock. You can get in our Discord chat where I'm able to answer all your questions up until lock. Even after lock, I'm in Discord answering questions. For the Patreon members, I give out my rankings, my positional plays, my favorite plays at each position. Also, I do give out some of my favorite picks each day for prize picks. That's another thing you get if you're a Patreon member. I give out the entries that I'm playing as well. So basically, the entries I have my own money on, I share those for Patreon members. So if you want to check out Prize Picks, if you're new here, go sign up over there. They are the sponsor of this video. When you do sign up for Prize Picks, use code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit. They will give you a free bet up to $100 when you sign up with my code, and you can take a look at what Prize Picks has to offer. They're a player prop-based DFS site, so it is very simple. You're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. If you have a lean one way or the other, you pick over or under. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. So if you want to sign up over there, use code NOAH so you get that deposit bonus. And also, if you want some of my favorite picks each day on Prize Picks, along with the entries I'm playing myself, check out the Patreon where I do give all that out. It's linked down below in the description. But yeah, guys, let's take a look at Wednesday's big 11-game slate. We're going to start off with the Pistons and Hornets game. So looking at the Pistons today, they're not a team that I think looks that appealing outside of maybe a few guys. They're starting to get healthy again. They've got Cade Cunningham back. Corey Joseph and Derek Walton can maybe be back from health and safety protocols. They've been out for about a week now, so they've kind of spent the minimum amount of time in protocols. They could maybe be back for this game. We don't really know yet. But I think with Cade Cunningham back, that takes away enough from Hamidou Diallo and Sadiq Bey to where I don't think they're like priority plays at their price tags. Hamidou Diallo came back down to earth the last game, only had like 31 DK points. Sadiq Bey actually did still play really, really well. He had 55 DraftKings points. He played 39 minutes. I think we are going to continue to see these guys play a ton of minutes. I just don't know that at their price points, they're like, guys that really you're going to be building around. I think if you're playing a lot of lineups and you want to sprinkle in Cade or Sadiq Bey, I think it's fine. Especially in a really good matchup against the Hornets. But these guys are just kind of like sprinkles for me, not players I'd be building around on this slate specifically. I do want to talk about the big situation, though. So Luka Garza had been starting at center as of late, but last game with Trey Lyles back, they actually did start Trey Lyles over Luka Garza, and Trey Lyles played a ton. He played 34 minutes, had 26 DK points. He's only 4,700 on DraftKings. He's got power forward and center eligibility. I think if Trey Lyles starts at center again, he's a pretty decent value play on the slate, especially in a really good matchup against the Hornets, a team that plays fast, a team that's not that good defensively. So Trey Lyles might be my favorite play from Detroit. I think Cade, Sadiq Bey are like guys you could sprinkle in tournaments, and that's probably it from this Pistons team. Now on the Charlotte side, there really isn't much I like from Charlotte. Everyone on Charlotte, I think, is priced where they should be. You're not getting much value on these price tags. Miles Bridges coming off a big game, had 58 DraftKings points last game, played 42 minutes. 7,100 for Miles Bridges. I still think he has the upside to pay off this price tag. But again, I don't think he's like a priority play for me. If I was playing one lineup, I doubt I would play Miles Bridges in my one lineup, especially on a big slate like this where we're going to have so many options. But, if you're playing a lot of lineups, you could definitely sprinkle in some Miles Bridges, sprinkle in some LaMelo, maybe some Terry Rozier. But again, Charlotte, not a team that I think looks that appealing today. They're starting to get healthy again. If PJ Washington plays today, they'll basically have their entire roster back. So not too much I really like from the Hornets. Next game, though, Houston and Washington. So on Houston today, they should be getting back KPJ and Christian Wood. Both were suspended last game, but both should be back today. And I'm assuming that we'll see KPJ and Christian Wood back in the starting lineup. If that's the case, 6,600 for Kevin Porter Jr. does look pretty appealing. He's been priced in like the 7,500, 8K range basically all season. We are getting a big discount on him after he kind of busted last game. But again, you can't really look too much into that because he only played the first half. Obviously there was some altercation there. I don't know why he didn't play in the second half, but He only played the first half last game. He should be back though today to play a full allotment of minutes. And 6,600 for KPJ. If we expect him to play low 30s minutes, I think he looks pretty appealing at 6,600. I think Christian Wood at 6,200 looks really, really good. Christian Wood's been a guy that's been priced in like the 8 to 9K range basically all season. He has one bad game, and now DraftKings for some reason priced him at 6,200. So I think Christian Wood at this price point looks great. I like him quite a bit as well. I think he's a very strong center play. If both KPJ and Wood are starting, I think they're really good options. And they're definitely my 2 favorite plays from this Rockets team. The rest of Houston, I'm not too interested in. Only want to say that, if Christian Wood, they brought him off the bench the other day. If he comes off the bench again, obviously that would be a boost for Daniel Tice, but I'm not expecting Wood to come off the bench. I'm expecting him to start, which really makes me have no interest in Daniel Tice. So I think KPJ, Christian Wood both look pretty good. Outside of that, I think that's pretty much it for Houston. And then on the Wizards side, the Wizards, they continue to be a pretty shorthanded team. We saw them run a really tight rotation last game. I think we're going to see them run a very tight rotation once again. You should see heavy minutes for Bradley Beal, Kyle Kuzma, even Daniel Gafford played 36 minutes last game. KCP, Denny Avia both got over 30 minutes. I think the 5 starters all are viable. I think Beal, Kuzma, and Gafford, though, are definitely the 3 I really want to focus on from Washington. I think Bradley Beal, 10-5, his price is starting to get up there, but man, it's a really good spot against Houston. His role lately without Spencer Dinwiddie has just been great. He's been playing a ton of minutes. He's been starting at point guard. We've seen his assist numbers come up. He's been scoring a ton as well. The minutes have been through the roof. These last few games without Dinwiddie, 34, 43, 34, 43, 43 minutes for Beal, and those are all in regulation. So he's been playing like over 40 minutes a game. I think if this game's competitive, we're going to see Bradley Beal get 38, 40 minutes. He should have the ball in his hands a ton. He should take a ton of shots without Dinwiddie. I like Bradley Beal a lot. I think Kyle Kuzma, it feels like we're kind of overpaying for Kyle Kuzma right now, but man, he's been great as of late as well. He's been playing a ton of minutes. He's been scoring a ton. He's been rebounding a ton. Does Kyle Kuzma continue to put up 40, 50 DraftKings points a night? I don't think he does, but man, his role has just been so good. He's been getting so many minutes that in a matchup against Houston, it would not be surprising to see Kyle Kuzma go out there and put up 45, 50 DK points again, especially if they're going to keep playing him 40 minutes. So I still think Kyle Kuzma's viable. Daniel Gafford, even at 6,400, even though his price tag is slowly starting to creep up, I still think Daniel Gafford looks really good. He played 36 minutes last game. He should continue to get big minutes while Montrezl Harrell is out. The matchup against Houston, I think, is really good. So I like Daniel Gafford quite a bit, too, from this Washington team. And then KCP, Denny Avia, I think are both fine. Denny Avia did start last game and played 40 minutes. At 5,100, I think he's priced where he should be. But again, he should get a ton of minutes. And then you'll probably see some minutes for Kispert, Bertans. Neto should get some run off the bench. But I don't think I'd be going to the bench guys. I think I'd mainly be focusing on the starters from the Wizards. And I think the main 3 guys, Beal, Kuzma, Gafford, those are the 3 I have the most interest in from Washington today. But that's it for this team. We can move on to the next game, talk about Philly and Orlando. So on Philly today, I think it's probably just Joel Embiid, and that's it for me from the Sixer team. Now, I do want to say that they are kind of missing a lot of guards. No Tyrese Maxey, no Shake Milton, Thibault out as well. We did see Korkmaz start last game in place of Tyrese Maxey. I'm assuming Korkmaz will start once again. Now, Korkmaz literally had the biggest ceiling game he could have. 51 DraftKings points from Korkmaz. I don't think that's something we can expect to happen again. I don't think we can expect him to get 11 rebounds, get 6 assists. He is normally a guy that's just going to be out there for shooting. He's not really going to get rebounds or get assists like he did last game. I think at 4,700 he's still viable. He should still play a lot of minutes with with Maxey out. Milton is out now too. I think the minutes will be there. I just at 4,700 I do kind of question his ceiling at this price point. Embiid though in tournaments I think is fine. He should be really low owned on a big slate like this. The matchup against Orlando, this is one that I think Embiid can definitely have success in. I don't really see anyone on Orlando slowing down Embiid. He's coming off a massive 72 DraftKings points game against Houston, had a triple-double that game. We know Embiid has that kind of ceiling. The floor on Embiid is still a little bit lower compared to some other studs like Jokic, like Giannis, but yeah, the ceiling's definitely there. Against Orlando, it would not be surprising to see Embiid go nuts here. Would kind of reserve him though for tournaments, more just a GBP play, not a guy I'd be considering like in my main lineup in like an optimal build. But that's probably it for Philly. Now on the Orlando side, I really don't see much I like here from Orlando. This is a team that they're starting to get healthy now. They've got Chuma Okeke back. I think Cole Anthony is questionable, so he can maybe return today. I'm not really that interested in Mini Magic. This is obviously a game that has a little bit of blowout risk too. I don't see much that stands out here. Franz Wagner at 6,400, I guess you could go to. His role's been pretty great as of late. He's been playing a ton of minutes. I think if Cole Anthony returns, that's obviously not going to be great for Franz Wagner, but he could still do well even if Anthony returns. But the Magic are not a team I'm that interested in. Mo Bama's price point I think is kind of appealing, but it's a really tough spot against Embiid. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to be rostering too many Magic on this slate. So we can move on to the next game, talk about San Antonio and Boston. So in San Antonio today, I believe Dejounte Murray is expected to play today. He did not play Tuesday, but he's on track to play for Wednesday's game. So I'm expecting Dejounte Murray back. If Dejounte Murray is back, that's not going to make much from San Antonio really stand out. Like Derek White obviously will take a hit with Murray back. So will Keldon Johnson. So will Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell's been starting lately, been playing big minutes. He only played 28 minutes against Toronto on Monday, or on Tuesday, excuse me. But I know that game did blow out. I don't think Vassell played a ton in the fourth quarter. So maybe if Vassell starts again, he'd be fine. But now that Dejounte Murray's back, I just don't really like too much here from San Antonio. Maybe Jakob Poeltl at center you could go to, but we have Gafford on this slate. We have Trey Lyles who we could consider for value. Obviously, there's a lot of other centers we're going to talk about later in the video. So yeah, I just don't really like many Spurs today. And then on Boston, Boston's not a team I have too much interest in either because they're getting Jason Tatum back today. So with Tatum back, that definitely hurts Jaylen Brown. It's going to hurt, Marcus Smart, Dennis Schroeder, Al Horford. Obviously, Tatum is a very high usage player, so getting him on the floor is just going to take usage away from all these other guys. So I really don't like much from Boston either. I will say that Robert Williams is questionable, or he's actually probable, so never mind. I thought Williams was questionable, but he's probable. I would have said that if Williams would have been out, we could have considered Al Horford, but yeah, if Williams is probable and he's expected to play, then man, I don't see too much from Boston. In general, this game's kind of a fade for me. I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about Golden State and Dallas. So on Golden State today, the two guys I think we really want to focus on if we're going to roster anyone from Golden State, it's probably Steph and Draymond. Steph at 10,900 continues to be a low floor, high ceiling play. He's basically the same play every single slate. He can go out there and put up 60, 70 any night, but he can also shit the bed. And we've seen Curry shit the bed a lot this season. 29 DK points against Miami, 33 against Denver. 34 against the Knicks, 36 against the Sixers. He's got a pretty low floor compared to other studs priced around him. The ceiling is still there for Steph. He's always a fine tournament play, but Steph is someone that I really haven't been playing much this year. I don't think on a big slate like this with so many other pay-up options, I'll really be going to Steph that much. Draymond is 7,200. I don't mind. Draymond had a big game last game, 44 DK points. We know Draymond can stuff the stat sheet, can do a little bit of everything. He should play big minutes if this game does stay close, which it should. We should get 35, 36 minutes from Draymond. So he might be my favorite play from Golden State if I had to play anyone here. But in general, the Warriors are not a team I'm too high on today. And then on the Dallas side, I kind of like some guys on Dallas because Kristaps Porzingis is out once again for the Mavericks. So Luka Doncic, with or without Porzingis, there's you can look at the court IQ and actually see that so far, throughout his career with the Mavs, his numbers without Porzingis on the court have actually not really been better. I think he's actually been worse with Porzingis off the floor. But I still think Luka has a big ceiling here. The matchup against Golden State's not great. Golden State's been one of the better defensive teams this year, but Luka's role should be massive. He should play a ton of minutes if it's a close game. We know Luka can stuff the stat sheet. He can put up a triple-double any night. I still think he's a pretty solid pay-up option at 10,600. I definitely have interest in Luka. And then I do want to talk about Maxi Kleber as a value. He started last game in place of Porzingis, played 31 minutes, had 26 DK points. I'd expect Kleber to start again, and at 3,800, if he starts and plays around 32 minutes, 3,800, we'll have to wait and see what other value opens up, but I think Kleber is a pretty decent value play, expecting him to start in place of Porzingis. Luka, Kleber, my two favorite plays from Dallas, and I think that's probably it for this Mavs team. So next game, we'll talk about Brooklyn and Indiana. So Brooklyn, kind of some big news here. Kyrie Irving is expected to make his season debut for Brooklyn today. I don't think he can play in home games because he's unvaccinated, and if you want to be in the, or if you want to play for Brooklyn, be on the court, I think you have to be vaccinated. So right now it looks like Kyrie's just going to play on the road. So they're on the road today against Indiana, and Kyrie is expected to make his season debut. So with Kyrie expected to play today, I just don't think we can really consider these other Brooklyn guys like Harden and Durant obviously are going to lose usage with Kyrie back. I'd expect Kyrie is probably on some sort of minutes limit since he hasn't played all season. But him coming back is going to take away from Harden. It's going to take away from Durant. These guys are obviously expensive right now, so Brooklyn's honestly a full fade. I'm going to watch this game because I definitely want to see Kyrie play. I like to watch Kyrie play. I think he's a great player. Obviously the off the court stuff is whatever, but I think Kyrie's a great player. It's going to be fun to watch him play tonight. I don't think I'm going to be rostering many Brooklyn guys, though. Just with how these guys are priced now that Kyrie's back, there's not too much that stands out from the Nets today. So we can move on to the other side of this game, talk about the Pacers. Now, the Pacers side, there are some guys I do like from Indiana because Indiana is pretty shorthanded right now. They got a lot of guys in COVID protocols. We don't really know when these guys are going to be back. I'm guessing basically everyone that's out is going to remain out for today's game. So Domantas Sabonis, even though he's coming off a bad game Tuesday night against the Knicks, I still think Domantas Sabonis is a pretty good play here. He should play a ton of minutes. He played 39 minutes on Tuesday. He should probably get close to 40 minutes once again if this game stays close. Brooklyn's a team you can definitely beat down low. They've been pretty bad all throughout their basically all the last few years. They've been a bad team defensively against big men. I don't really think LaMarcus Aldridge or Nicholas Claxton, these guys can really slow down Sabonis. We know Sabonis has a ton of upside. Even though he's coming off a bad game, I still think Sabonis is a pretty solid play. I think the same could be said for Miles Turner at 7K. Miles Turner should play a ton of minutes. He should be relied on more offensively without LeVert, without Brogdon. So I'd still like Turner at 7K. And then the value from Indiana, we did see Dwayne Washington and Skies both start again. So Skies is 3,300. Washington is 3,800. Washington started, played 37 minutes, had 27 DK points on Tuesday. Skies started, played 38 minutes, had 39 DK points. I think without LeVert and Brogdon, you're going to continue to see both of these guys start and probably play mid to high 30s minutes just because they don't really have anyone else. I know Indiana, I think they ran an 8 or 9 man rotation for Tuesday's game. I think they're going to run a tight rotation once again. So we should expect big minutes for both these guards. They're both really cheap. I think they're both pretty good values today. Sykes, I like a lot. 3,300 on DraftKings. His price went down for some reason. And on Yahoo, he's also very cheap over there as well. So if you want to play Sykes on Yahoo, I think he looks really good. He's the minimum salary. Again, if LeVert, Brogdon, Duarte, McConnell, if all these guys are still out, I'm expecting Sykes to start at point guard, probably play mid to high 30s minutes. He's been productive when he's gotten minutes so far with Indiana. At 3,300, he's a really strong value play once again today. Same could be said for Washington. But that's probably it for the Pacers, so we can go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about Toronto and Milwaukee. So Toronto, I didn't really have much interest in Toronto on Tuesday's slate just because they're fully healthy now. The pricing on Toronto, I think, is pretty accurate. Everyone is priced where they should be. I think the same could be said for today's slate. Van Vliet had a really good game Tuesday, scored 53 DK points. But he's 9,500. Even if he scores 50 DraftKings points today, that's not great at his price point. At 9,500, you're looking for close to 60 DraftKings points from Van Vliet. Does he have that upside? He absolutely does, but I don't think Van Vliet or Siakam at their price points really stand out. Same could be said for Scotty Barnes and OG. There's just not much I really like on Toronto now they're fully healthy. Van Vliet, Siakam, Barnes, OG, Gary Trent, the 5 starters, they're all going to play 35, close to 40 minutes if the game stays close. So obviously they all have upside, but again, the pricing doesn't really make any of them stand out as priority plays. And then on Milwaukee, Giannis at 11.6, I think probably one of the better pay-up options. Usually any slate Giannis is on, he is going to be a standout pay-up option. I think today in a game that probably should stay close against Toronto, now that Toronto's getting back to full strength, I think they can. I think they're a pretty good team when they're fully healthy, and I think they can keep this game close to where we do get 32, 34 minutes from Giannis. We obviously know Giannis has a ton of upside. We know he's a really productive player when he's on the court. We have a lot of studs on this slate. We have Jokic, we have Giannis, we have Trae Young. You got the guys in the mid range that are playing without some key players the Miami guys, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler. Tyler Hero and God, I'm just spazzing out right now. Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero playing without Jimmy Butler in the mid range. We talked about a lot of other mid range options like Kyle Kuzma, Daniel Gafford. We've talked about some other studs like Bradley Beal. So there's a lot of pay-up options today. There's definitely going to be a lot of good plays. It's a big slate. Usually on a big slate, you're always going to have a lot of standout options. But I think Giannis at 11.6 in a game that should stay close against Toronto, he looks pretty appealing. Drew and Middleton, though, I'm not that interested in at their price points. Bobby Portis, same could be said for him. And, with Connaughton, Grayson Allen, Dante DiVincenzo all out, I'm guessing that Rodney Hood or George Hill starts. Even if they start, I'm probably not going to go there. I think Giannis is really the only guy that stands out from this Milwaukee team. So we can move on to the next game, talk about OKC and Minnesota. So on OKC, they are getting SGA back today. So SGA coming back is going to take away from Giddey. Obviously, Giddey's coming off a massive game where he went for a triple-double, had over 60 DraftKings points. I think now that SGA is back, I don't really have much interest in Giddey or anyone else on this OKC team. I think SGA himself is kind of a fine option at 8,800. SGA obviously has a lot of upside. He can put up a big game any night. You always worry about blowout and, SGA not playing his full minutes, but in games that do stay close, when SGA gets 36, 40 minutes, he can go out there and put up, 40, 50, 55 DK points. More of a tournament option, but I think SGA is viable. He's probably the only guy I'd be going to on OKC today, I think. So we can talk about Minnesota now. And with Minnesota, they're a tough team to break down until we get an update on Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell have both cleared COVID protocols. They're both game time decisions for Wednesday's game. I'm guessing they play. And if Cat and Russell both do play, again, there's not a ton that's going to stand out from Minnesota because all these other guys have been priced up for when, Cat and Russell have been out. Obviously, Naz Reid's been playing really well in place of Cat, but if Cat returns, I would have no interest in Naz Reid. Ant at 7,900, I still wouldn't mind in tournaments. I think everyone on Minnesota should be fairly low owned today. I think Cat, honestly, if Cat plays, he might be my favorite option. I definitely like this matchup against OKC. I think OKC is a team you can beat down low. Guys like Cat can do really well against this, undersized Thunder team. So, if Cat plays today as a tournament option, he should be really low owned on a big slate like this. So, he's actually kind of appealing in a pretty good spot. And that's probably it from this Minnesota team. Now, obviously, if Cat and Russell both are out, then we can look to Anthony Edwards, who would get a ton of usage. We could look to Naz Reid, who would start in place of Cat and would be a pretty good play as well. But until we get that news, it's just kind of a wait and see right now with Minnesota. So moving on to the next game, Utah and Denver. So Utah's another team that's kind of tough to break down right now because we have to pay attention to the injury report here. Donovan Mitchell and Jordan Clarkson are both probable, so they should both be playing. But Rudy Gobert is questionable, and Rudy Gobert is obviously a very impactful injury that will impact the slate a ton if he gets ruled out. I'm expecting that if Gobert gets ruled out, we would see Hassan Whiteside start at center. But again, Hassan Whiteside is also questionable. He's in concussion protocols right now. If Whiteside plays and Gobert's out, Whiteside is going to be probably the best value play on the slate if he winds up starting. We know Whiteside's a great point per minute player. So if Gobert's out and Whiteside plays, I would love Whiteside. If Gobert and Whiteside are both out, then I have no idea what they're going to do. I would guess they might start Rudy Gay at center because I don't really know any other bigs they have, or Eric Pascal. Rudy Gay would probably be the biggest beneficiary if Gobert and Whiteside are both out. He's only 3,400. He would be a very strong value play. But we're definitely going to have to pay attention to this Rudy Gobert news because this is going to be slate impacting if he gets ruled out. And then Donovan Mitchell, he's probable. He's expected to play. I don't think he really stands out. Same with Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson. Bojan's questionable and Joe Ingles is out. I think Royce O'Neal's questionable too. So they have a lot of secondary guys questionable. If Bojan and Royce are both out with Ingles out too, maybe Rudy Gay would start in that scenario. And then again, Rudy Gay, if he starts, he's going to be a strong value play because Rudy Gay's been a pretty good point per minute player when he has gotten minutes so far this year with Utah. But yeah, it's just a wait and see right now for Utah. If everyone plays, this is kind of just a full fade spot for me. I don't really see too much that stands out from the Jazz. But if we start getting some guys ruled out here, then there could be some value that opens up from Utah that we will definitely talk about later. Obviously, in the stream on Wednesday, I'll be live an hour before lock. Hopefully, we'll have some news on Utah by then, and we can talk through Utah in the stream on Wednesday. But on the Denver side, looking at the Nuggets here, so Nikola Jokic at 12K, even in a tougher spot against Rudy Gobert, I still think Jokic is a really good pay-up option today. These teams have faced once this year, and Jokic actually went nuts in the first half. He did only play 15 minutes against Utah earlier this year because he did get injured. He got injured with 2 minutes left in the second quarter and did not return. But he had 41 Draftkings points in 15 minutes against Utah this year. And that was with Gobert playing. So obviously, he's been able to have success against Gobert in the past. I wouldn't get too worried about matchup when it comes to a guy like Jokic who can basically dominate against anyone. Obviously, Gobert is one of the better defensive big men, but I don't think he's just going to completely shut down Jokic. We know Jokic's role on this Nuggets team is just so massive. He's going to play a ton of minutes. He's going to get a monster amount of usage. I still think Jokic is a really strong pay-up option. I like Jokic quite a bit. I think Will Barton with Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Monte Morris still out. I think Will Barton's going to be the number 2 on offense, and at 5,900, he's a fine mid-range option. I wouldn't mind going to him. Campazzo at 5,600, I think is priced where he should be, but he should play big minutes. He's been starting in place of Monte Morris lately. Should continue to start while Monte Morris is out. So I think he's viable. And that's probably it from Denver. So we can move on to the next game, talk about Atlanta and Sacramento. So another big injury to watch in this one. Atlanta, right now, Trae Young is listed as questionable. Trae Young, obviously, if he gets ruled out, this is a slate-impacting injury that's going to open up a lot from Atlanta if he sits. If Trae Young sits, you would see a lot more usage for Cam Reddish. You would see more minutes for DeLon Wright. You would see a lot more usage for Kevin Huerter. I think Cam Reddish, DeLon Wright, Kevin Huerter, and probably Lou Will as well. Like, those would be the 4 biggest beneficiaries if Trey winds up sitting. All those guys would look pretty appealing, especially DeLon Wright and Kevin Huerter, given where they're priced at. Cam Reddish is also questionable, so like in a scenario where he's out too, that would just make those other guys look even better. But if everyone plays for Atlanta, if Trey plays, if Cam Reddish plays, I think you're just kind of looking at like tournament options here. I think Trey in tournaments is fine. Obviously, Trey's coming off a massive game against Portland where he went for 85 DraftKings points. Like, Trey was unstoppable that day. He couldn't miss a shot. He had 56 points, 14 assists. I think Trey's always a good tournament play in a good matchup against Sacramento. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to see Trey put up another big game here. So I think he's a viable tournament play. It's probably it, though, from Atlanta. I think if Trey gets ruled out, then this will definitely be a team we kind of want to load up on because there's going to be a lot to like from Atlanta if Trey sits. If Trey plays, I think he's a fine tournament play. Clint Capella as a tournament option at 8,100, I don't mind either. But that's really it from Atlanta. Now, on the Sacramento side, I think there's some guys I like from Sacramento just kind of looking at the pricing. De'Aaron Fox at 7K, I still think it's too cheap. He was like 7,100 on Tuesday slate in a good matchup against the Lakers. I think Fox is doing pretty well at the time I'm recording this video. I like going back to De'Aaron Fox. I think 7K is still too cheap for him. Even on a back-to-back, he should be good to go and good to play, his normal 35, 36 minutes against Atlanta. I think De'Aaron Fox is definitely in a good spot here at 7K. I like him a lot from the Sacramento team. If Damian Jones continues to start at center at 4,200, he's a decent value play. He played 29 minutes against Miami last game he started, and then in Tuesday's game against the Lakers, it's halftime at the time I'm recording this video, and I think he had played like 13 minutes in the first half. So he's on pace to play like 25, 26 minutes. I think if he starts again at center, we probably get like 25, 26 minutes from Damian Jones. So 4,200, a viable cheap option. But De'Aaron Fox is the guy that stands out most from this Kings team, and I think the rest of these guys are just kind of like tournament dart throws. Halliburton, Barnes, Buddy Hield, tournament dart throws in my opinion. But the last game of the night, Miami and Portland. So this is one that really, like, you're going to want some exposure to this game because both these teams are shorthanded. Miami's going to be missing Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. They also have a bunch of other guys in COVID protocols who may or may not play today. But without Jimmy and Bam, I mean, we kind of know who to go to here. It's going to be Kyle Lowry. It's going to be Tyler Hero. We should expect monster usage and monster shot attempts, monster minutes for both these guys. Last game, Lowry played 39 minutes, had 40 DK points. I know Jimmy got injured, I think at halftime, or maybe no, it wasn't halftime, but it was later in the third quarter. I think, heading into the fourth quarter, that's when Jimmy got injured. So last game, they basically played the entire game with Jimmy, minus one quarter. But I think a full game here without Jimmy, without Bam, again, monster usage for Kyle Lowry, monster usage for Tyler Hero, big minutes for those guys as well. I think both Lowry and Hero look like great options today, both very strong plays in the mid-range. Yurt 7 at 6,500, I don't mind either. He's been starting at center lately, been playing big minutes, been really productive. I think I'd rather play a guy like Daniel Gafford at a similar price point. I think I'd rather play Nurkic on the other side of this game, who we're going to talk about. But I think Yurt 7 is still a fine center play, assuming he's still starting. And that's probably it from Miami. I don't think I'd be going to Max Strus or Caleb Martin or PJ Tucker. I think Lowry and Hero are by far the priority plays here, and then Yurt 7 is a viable option that we can consider as well. And then on Portland's going to be missing 2 of their key guys. No Damian Lillard once again. Obviously, CJ McCollum's still out. We saw last game without Dame and CJ. It was basically, 4 guys that did everything. Norman Powell, Yusuf Nurkic, Anthony Simons, and Nasir Little. All those guys had great games. And I think those are going to be the 4 guys, taking all the shots, getting all the usage, just producing. Basically, those are going to be the 4 guys doing all the producing for Portland. So Norman Powell at 7K, I still think is a pretty solid play here. Without Dame and CJ, he's going to take a ton of shots. Didn't shoot as much as I would have liked last game, but he did shoot the ball really well. Had 26 points to go along with 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals. 47 DraftKings points from Norman Powell. Price is up to 7K, but I still think he's viable. I think Nurkic looks great. 6,800 for Nurkic on DraftKings I think is definitely too cheap. I like Nurkic quite a bit on Yahoo as well if you want to play him over there. He's $24 on Yahoo. He's one of my favorite center plays today. We saw him return from COVID protocols last game against Atlanta. Clearly, he was on sort of a minutes limit, even though it wasn't reported that he would be limited. But he was really productive in those 26 minutes that he played. 46 DraftKings points for Nurkic, 21 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. Look, Nurkic is a guy that can produce when he gets minutes. I think without Dame and CJ, they're going to need Nurkic out there. He's a good offensive center. He's a guy that can, facilitate as well. 6,800, if we expect Nurkic to play like 30 minutes here, getting increased usage without Dame and CJ, I mean, he looks really, really appealing, especially with, Miami not having Bam Adebayo right now. I think the matchup's, better than you think for Nurkic. So Really like Yusuf Nurkic. Really like Anthony Simons as well. We talked about Anthony Simons last slate as being one of the best value plays, and he just went nuts. Played 38 minutes, had 60 DraftKings points. Took 21 shots, 13 for 21 from the field, 9 for 16 from three. I mean, he's a really good offensive player. He's a really underrated player, and without Dame and CJ, the offense is going to run through Anthony Simons. I mean, he's going to take a ton of shots. He should be able to produce at a very high rate. 5,300 is still probably too cheap for Anthony Simons. If we expect him to play, mid to high 30s minutes like he did last game, he should average over a fantasy point per minute, or around a fantasy point per minute. At 5,300, I still like Anthony Simons a ton. Still think he's too cheap. Still think he's too cheap on Yahoo as well, $17. I like him quite a bit. And then value-wise, I think Nasir Little looks like a really good value. We also talked about Nasir Little as being a guy that could definitely step up without Dame and CJ. And we saw him play really well. He had 22 points, had 39 DraftKings points, was 1 rebound shy of a double-double. Could have had an even better game if he got the double-double bonus. But again, 36 minutes, took 14 shots. Like, they're going to need Nasir Little to do more offensively. I will note that Larry Nance Jr. is also doubtful. Larry Nance Jr. did play last game, and he played 35 minutes. So now you're taking those 35 minutes out, and you're going to have to spread those around. We might see even bigger minutes for Norman Powell, even bigger minutes for Nasir Little. I'm sure Robert Covington will probably be back in the starting lineup. Feel really good about Nasir Little as a value option. 4,600 on DraftKings. I think he's a strong play. He's very cheap on Yahoo, $13 at small forward. Really like Nasir Little as well from this Portland team. So those 4 guys, Powell, Nurkic, Simons, Little, I think are all really good plays today. Robert Covington, Dennis Smith Jr., the bench guys, I don't think I'd be going there. I think I'd be mainly sticking to those 4. With Larry Nance out, I'm guessing Covington starts. Maybe at 4,400 you could go to Covington, but we know Covington's a pretty low usage player, doesn't offer a ton of upside, so even if he starts, I wouldn't be too excited about him. But that's it for this Portland team, and that's it for all 11 games today, guys. So appreciate you watching this game-by-game breakdown. I hope it did help. If you did enjoy, please do hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button as well if you have not yet. Go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. Go sign up for PrizePicks. Use code Noah when you do, and PrizePicks will match your first deposit. They will give you a free bet up to $100 when you sign up with my code. You can take a look at what PrizePicks has to offer. You can make some picks for Wednesday's NBA games. You can make some picks for other sports as well. PrizePicks offers a lot of other sports. You can mix and match sports over there. So if you do sign up, use code Noah so you get that deposit bonus. And if you guys want some of my favorite picks on PrizePicks each day, check out the Patreon, link down below in the description, where I do give out all my favorite PrizePicks plays over on Patreon, along with my other updated DFS content. But that's it for Wednesday's Big 11 game slate. Appreciate you guys watching the video. We will see you in the next one.